right, it is 6 o'clock, and we will go ahead and call to order the meeting of the Kuna City Council. Garrett, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember McPherson.
Here.
Councilmember Biggs.
Here.
Councilmember Laraway.
Yes.
Council President Bruce.
Here.
Mayor Steer.
Thank you, yes. And if you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let's see, first item is to amend the agenda.
I move we amend the current agenda by adding business item 7C to the agenda.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any discussion on that motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda. Any questions or comments, or ready for a motion?
I'm good. Councilman, do you have anything? I move we approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval of the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Garrett, would you poll the council, please?
Councilmember McPherson.
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs.
Yes.
Councilmember Laraway.
Yes.
Council President Bruce.
Yes.
And that motion carries. Public comment. I didn't have anybody sign in. Is there anybody who wishes to address the council? Didn't get a chance to sign in? All right.
That's first.
Next, it is Constitution Week. So I'm going to do a proclamation and then hand it off to Linda. Whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principle of limited government in a republic dedicated by rule of law, and whereas September 17, 2025 marks the 238th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17 through September 21st, 2025 as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, Joe Steer, Mayor of the City of Kuna, Idaho, do hereby proclaim September 17 through 2025 as Constitution Week in the City of Kuna, and urge all citizens to study the Constitution and reflect on the privilege of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves. And from the DAR, we have Linda here tonight to accept this copy of the proclamation.
Thank you, Ms. Linda. Jump in there, Biggs. Thank you so much.
All right, that takes us to public hearings. Item 6A is case numbers 2207ZC and 2215-S for Gallica Heights subdivision. Application requests approval to rezone 132.5 acres from agricultural to R4, R6, and C1. Troy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. For the record, Troy B. Hunan, CUNA Development Services Department. This application before you this evening may look familiar as we have a little history with this project. This evening, the request is to rezone, request approval of a rezone for approximately 133 acres from the agricultural zone to the R4, R6, and C1 zones. It is also a request for a preliminary plat approval to subdivide the same site into 514 single-family lots, 103 common lots, 20 common driveways, a single commercial lot for now, and a school lot. The subject site is located at the southeast corner of Columbia and Black Hat Roads. The city's comprehensive plan identifies the subject property as mixed-use and medium-density residential on the city's future land use map, also known as the FLUME, and staff finds that it does comply with that request. Staff would like to just take a moment and highlight some of the history with this property and the project. This project came before the Planning and Zoning Commission in September of 2023 as a PUD, or a planned unit development. It included a rezone, a preliminary plat, special use permit, and design review application, which was proposing C1, R6, and the R12 zones. It included a pre-plat for a school lot, 615 residential lots, 86 common lots, and a single commercial lot. Through the public hearing process, the commission voted to recommend denial to the council for the rezone, the PUD, the pre-plat, and they also denied the special use permit and the design review applications. On February 6th, 2024, this project came to council as an appeal of the commission's denial for the special use permit and the design review, and to go through the public hearing process for the rezone, the PUD, and the pre-plat. The commission denied the special use permit and the design review applications. On February 6, 2024, this project came to the council as an appeal of the commission's denial. I think I just lost my place, I'm sorry. Through the public hearing process, it was determined that the following things were determined. The rezone was too high of a density and was not consistent with the comp plan. The rezone was denied due to inability of the city and school district to serve this project. The PUD and the preliminary plat were denied due to the denial of the rezone request. The council voted to uphold the commission's denial of the special use permit and the design review. The council signed the findings of fact and conclusions of law on March 5th, 2024. On March 19th, 2024, the applicant filed a motion for reconsideration of the council's decision summarily. At the April 16th council meeting, the council received a memo from Director Doug Hansen stating 6 specific items that were outlined by the applicant in their request for reconsideration when deciding whether to grant their request. Failure to provide adequate reason statement, Public Works' comments, traffic comments, reliance on incorrect future land use map, compliance with the zoning standards, and failure to provide future guidance. In this memo from the Director Hansen, the legal considerations were provided, as well as 3 possible outcomes or actions that the council could take. The council voted 4-0 to remand the applications back to the commission for a public hearing in order to address the council's reasons for their denial. After 8 months of coordination with staff, ACHD, and the charter school, including an update to the traffic impact study and a major redesign of large portions of the site, the applicant presents a new site plan which demonstrates the following under the direction of the council. They removed the PUD, the planned unit development, removal of the development agreement request, removal of the special use permit, removal of the high density housing, a significant reduction in housing. They lost or removed 101 units, removal of attached housing options for single family housing only, addition of a centrally located charter school on a 4-acre lot, and sharing a 5-acre city park. Additional pathways and internal pedestrian walkthroughs were also provided. The applicant now proposes a rezone of approximately 132.5 acres and proposes to apply the C1, the R4, the R6 zones with a request for preliminary plat approval in order to subdivide it into a commercial lot, 514 residential lots, 103 common lots, and 20 common driveways, with a proposed gross density at or about 3.89 dwelling units per acre project-wide, and a net density of approximately 5.01 dwelling units per acre project-wide. This proposal includes a ready-to-go 4-acre lot that is designated for a charter school. Approximately 38 acres of this proposal was approved as part of the larger local improvement district, which also has a little nickname called the LID, and that annexation took place in May of 2006. The balance of the property was annexed into the city in July of 2006 and also April 2007. Staff has reviewed the proposed rezone and the preliminary plat for compliance with the CUNA City Code, Idaho State Statutes 50-222, 67-65, the CUNA Comprehensive Plan, and the CUNA Comprehensive Future Land Use Map. The Commission did recommend approval of these applications as is demonstrated in the minutes from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. They did approve the design review for this application. Staff recommends that the applicant be subject to the proposed recommended conditions as outlined in staff's report, should the council approve this project. I know that the applicant is here tonight. They have a presentation to make, and I will be here for any questions that you might have.
Okay, any questions for Troy at this point? Yes, Councilmember Laraway.
Troy, I'm looking at the open space, and I've had this question before. Right now, I only see technically 4 open spaces. Now, I know you're counting the school as open space, I'm assuming.
That is correct.
So what happens if the school doesn't fall through? Because it's not a public school, it's a charter.
That would be a great question for the applicant.
Okay.
But I believe that there is also a representative here from the charter school. If not, they are on record, but the applicant can explain just how deep they are into negotiations with the school district.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anything further? All right, Troy, thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
You bet.
And if the applicant would like to step forward?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name's Elizabeth Kekritz. I am with Givens Pursley Land Use Council, 601 Bannock Drive, Boise, Idaho. With me today is Tim Eck, the property owner and developer, Dave Crawford, who is our engineer, Jamie Markosian, who was our traffic engineer, and then we also do have members from the charter school, the proposed charter school here today, who will speak to you later. I want to start by saying thanks to staff. This project has been going on for a really long time, and they have been great to work with throughout the whole time. And so today I'm really excited to present the updated, newly imagined Gallica Heights. We incorporated all of the neighbor and city council feedback that we received, and we think we've come up with a really good neighborhood that will be an absolute benefit to the city of CUNA. So at the end of this, we are requesting approval of a rezone and the preliminary plat. Now, so I'll just go over these quickly. The future land use map, it does designate the property as, at the original submittal, it was all mixed use. Now it is mixed use and medium density residential. Importantly, as mentioned, all this property was annexed into the city all the way back in 2008. This has been part of the city for quite some time. As Troy mentioned, I'll also go over this rather quickly. We do meet a lot of the comprehensive plan goals. There's going to be a pathway along the Reidenbach Canal. It's really continuing a lot of the streets to and through Shaler Drive, as we'll talk about. Lots of housing options. The commercial area on the corner is great for a small business, a little small sort of strip of local serving businesses. So it really does meet a lot of comprehensive plan goals. We also have a lot of subdivisions surrounding us. It's not out in the middle of nowhere. It is surrounded on 3 sides with platted subdivisions, including Sabino's Rocky Ridge to the south, which does have higher density than what we're proposing today. Then there's Saddle Rock to the north and Homestead to the east. We're proposing, you can see here, the C1, C4, and the C1, R4, and R6 zoning. We heard what you said loud and clear about the neighbors did not like the R12, neither did you. It didn't meet with the medium density residential that you were looking for. We also tried to propose some R8. That also wasn't something that you were looking for. And one thing was that everyone said loud and clear was that these homes on the perimeter that are closer to the larger lots to the north, that are closer to the ag to the west, and then some of the larger lots directly to the east, that those lots should be the bigger lots. And so we did make those the biggest lots, and they're zoned R4. Our smallest perimeter lot is 8,300 square feet, and the R4 zone only requires 6,000 square feet. So we're actually really trying to upsize these lots to really lessen the impacts on those surrounding neighborhoods. As we move to the south and towards the interior and to where Sabino's Rocky Ridge is, and where where there's still ag property, we do go up in density to that R6 zone. We now do include a public park instead of private amenity space, and there is the charter school lot, which I'll discuss, and CUNA Parks and Rec has come out in support of this application. We also have enhanced connectivity throughout. I'm going to skip over this because there's just a lot in black and white. It's really hard to see. And touch on the open space. You can see that we do have a couple of pocket parks. There is the canal pathway, there is the city park, and then there is the school site. The charter school can speak to it, but it is actually, they're public charter schools. They'll discuss that. They're not private schools. They're funded with taxpayer dollars. And they are absolutely public. And so they will talk about the plans with the property, but it's anticipated that they will be there, and they will be there for a long time, and that and this does meet all the requirements under code for CUNA open space. But I believe even without it, they're still, with the Reidenbach Canal and all of the other pathways and little pocket parks and the bigger park here, there's ample open space sort of throughout this whole development with lots of internal connections as well. Here we're zooming in a little bit on the public park and the charter school lot. And then this is the school that is proposing to come here. They have several locations throughout the state of Idaho, including one in South Boise. It's the GEM Prep. And it's a school that focuses a lot on getting all kids ready for college, as well as other things. And there are actually quite a few kids who currently live in CUNA who are driving to the GEM Prep Meridian School in South Meridian. And this would just be a really great opportunity for them to use this. The school will actually be able to accept almost 2.5 times the number of students that would live in this development can attend this school. It will be big enough for that. And they do historically bus students. So that will also minimize some of the traffic concerns that get raised with a school. And then of course, schools require a conditional use permit, so they would be back here before you for that in the future. Speaking of, traffic is always really the big question on developments of this size. And here, as we'll discuss, there are numerous pending and proposed improvements to the roadway system that will help alleviate the impacts of the traffic. As with all developments of a certain size, Tim Eck was required to submit a traffic impact study to ACHD and receive ACHD's approval of the study. And to hire, as you guys know, to create the traffic impact study, you hire a traffic engineer, which is someone who goes to school and takes extra classes in engineering on how to best count traffic, figure out traffic, make our roads run smoothly. And so they go out and they put the strips down, they do actual traffic counts, they go to best practices, standardized practices across the country, and really look at what this development will do to the intersections. And they don't get to do that in a vacuum, although, of course, I mean, it would be great if we could just look at the two intersections directly adjacent to the site. They work with ACHD and really determine the scope of what this could impact. And they are going out and they studied as far north as Victory and Black Cat, all the way out to the highway, and pretty much all of the intersections in between all got studied. ACHD reviewed the traffic impact study, what we were proposing, what the mitigations are, and determined that we are able to meet all of the ACHD policies, and the traffic improvements and the traffic mitigations have been approved by ACHD at this time. On this slide, you can also see traffic engineers assess how the traffic will leave the subdivision, where they anticipate it going. 5% they anticipate will head south on Black Cat, 25% head north on Black Cat, and as sort of you'd expect, 60% head east on Columbia and then sort of spread out from there as you get out closer to the highway, and then 10% go west on Columbia and then start to spread out is what's anticipated. The developer is, of course, these aren't improvements that are made at the taxpayer expense. Developers are required to do these developments at their own expense, and so there are quite a few improvements that will be being made at Tim Eck's expense, including all the intersections, here the intersections heading up Black Cat and east on Columbia. They'll be installing a signal at the corner of Black Cat and Columbia, right here. And then heading east on Columbia, they're actually going to be required to do additional traffic counts as they get through building this development at different stages in order to see if what their beliefs and what the traffic issues are actually playing out, and they're going to be subject to additional improvements from ACHD at certain traffic count numbers, like at the 100th home and at 364th home. They have to recount traffic, go back to ACHD and determine the appropriate mitigations. At 10 Mile, they'll be looking for a signal or a larger roundabout. At Columbia and Linder, they're installing turn lanes. Upon request from ITD, they would be contributing to improvements at Columbia and the State Highway. They also do all of the local improvements. I'm just about done. And those are all done at the developer's expense, including road widening of Black Cat, of Columbia Road, all of the roads to and through. And just the last point I want to make about the ACHD, of course, is also doing these capital improvements. There's quite a few of them in the direct area. But then each house will also be paying impact fees, which fund those capital improvements, both for the road system and for the parks, the police, the fire. And in total, this development will not be a huge detriment or any problem on the community. In fact, it will be, in addition to the taxpayer dollars, as this property continues to appreciate, they'll be paying with each building permit in total $4.194 million. And of course, that goes up every year. So with that, we request approval of the rezone and the preliminary plat. We have worked hard to do everything that was requested by City Council and the neighbor. All services are available to the site. No one's had none of the local agencies have had any real concerns with this development. We comply with the comprehensive plan. We comply with all zoning standards, not asking for any waivers, any sort of specialty
Ma'am, that's
issues
your time.
here. And we are requesting your approval. I'll stand for questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Elizabeth at this time? Yes, Councilmember Laraway.
I didn't hear what you said about the capacity of the charter school. How many kids are gonna be in there?
Good question, Councilmember Laraway. I did not say the exact number. We have someone from the school who's here who could tell you that. I do recall reading that it was about 2.5 times the number of students that the subdivision would generate. So it can take in students from outside. But there is someone here who will speak to that later.
And I was just wondering, the reason I ask is it seemed, and I'm not knowledgeable about this, but it seems like 4 acres, is that enough for the school parking and the amenities? Yeah, I see a basketball court. Is that it? I mean,
Mayor Steer, Councilmember Laraway, that's a great question. Is that what these charter schools have found is actually working in places, is that's why it's located next to a city park, is that the city parks are not very highly used during the day. They would not have exclusive use on the city park, but they can enter into agreements where they're sort of a shared, where they generally are going to be using a lot of the portions of the city park that just sit there empty through much of the day. And so then there is plenty of space for these schools.
So if the school is going to use the city park,
Yes.
but I don't see a pathway or a walkway or anything to get the kids from point A to point B.
It's adjacent.
Well,
It's
I'm talking about
adjacent.
The school's here.
No,
It's all, here, let me show you.
Oh, I thought that not a part was where the school was. I apologize.
No, so this,
The not a part is actually
Not
a
a
piece
part.
of property that's not a part of it.
Not a part.
yeah. This is, as you come down, if you were to tilt this 90 degrees, so that was Shayla Avenue, which is actually north-south coming off of Kayla, that's where that is.
You got me on that. Again,
All
I
right.
apologize. I
Yep,
thought,
it's all right
the other
there.
little thing was not a part was the school.
John,
Okay, further
just,
question.
John, just for reference, Indian Creek, if you take the playground on both sides and the building is 6.13 acres. So that kind of that's how I had to figure it out, like, that doesn't seem very big either. And then I started comparing it, and Indian Creek sits on just a hair over 6 acres, so it's substantial.
Thank you.
And
Okay,
this,
further questions?
yes, sir.
Yes.
The gym prep is K through 12, right, as I understand it?
That's correct.
Okay. So I guess the high school students, or well, junior high for that matter, they'll possibly be leaning on the Kuna School District for sports, football, track, wrestling.
Mayor Steer, council member, that is a great question. We have someone here who can talk about that. I know that the various charter schools have been leaning into the smaller leagues, playing against other people, doing some sports, not full sports. But that is a great question, and someone can address that more fully than I can.
Thank you.
Anything further?
Not
All
at
right.
this time,
Yes.
not at this time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing, and Catherine Guido did not wish to testify, is that correct?
Was she-
Tammy Hugh,
Was she in favor or in opposition?
she had in support.
Okay.
Tammy Hugh, yes, if you would go to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
All right. My name is Tammy Huff, address 8397 South Old Farm Place, Meridian. We are in opposition of Gallica Heights. So our biggest concern currently is the traffic and Shayla Avenue, how that's going to impact everything, and then the general picture of the traffic and road improvements that are scheduled. So Shayla Avenue runs basically on the side of our property, and with the lack of road improvements scheduled in the near future, we have big concerns that Shayla's just gonna turn into a bypass for 10 Mile. Because if you have a way to get off of 10 Mile and zip on down through, you're gonna take it. So from what I've seen, Shayla is proposed to go all the way from Lake Hazel, all the way into Crimson Point out to Deer Flat. So I did read that ACHD had concerns about the length and the straight alignment of Shayla with excessive speeding. Per ACHD, there's no room to have Columbia expanded into 5-lane due to like easements, I believe it was, right away. So because of that, one of our other concerns is we're a little bit confused as to the location of the school, knowing that they're gonna have to be pulling out onto Columbia, and if it can't really provide extra traffic space. Black Cat does propose to be widened to 5 lanes, but that's not like until 2040, so a little breakdown of the timeline for road improvements that I could find was in 26, there's only some maintenance stuff going on Hubbard. 27, we get a roundabout at Deer Flat and 10 Mile. 28, again, just some maintenance stuff. 29, a roundabout at Deer Flat and K Street. 10 Mile and Columbia, it's not even on the date time, it's potentially to be determined. So again, that's ways down the road. And then out on Black Cat, like I said, it's not gonna get widened to 5 lanes until, 2040. Then a variety of all the roundabouts going down Black Cat, again, those range from 2031 to 2040 to get those accomplished, so. So we just have big concerns about where is all this traffic gonna go. We have to sit and suffer with all these big improvements being made, or all these big housing developments being approved, and no place to, to put all of these cars and things like that. So last time we were here, I believe a majority of you didn't want anything above R4, so consider that. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. Andrew Bills.
Andrew Bills, 4277 West Balavai Lane. I think I might have put in opposition there. I didn't realize it was either or, but whatever. I wasn't supposed to. I wanted to go. I first in the not a part. I'm the last house in the not a part. We have a Nampa address in Ada County in the Kuna School District with a Meridian phone number landline. So we are not a part of anything. I commend the developer highly. They listened. They came back with great revisions, in my opinion. I had real concerns of the high density that they were doing. I think they went from 800 plus units down to now 500, over 130 acres. Feels a lot more reasonable, in my opinion. Our concern or request I would put is we are gonna be landlocked by annexed housing and we are Ada County still, and we're not annexed. We're still county property. There's 3 of us along that lane. My request would be to put a requirement on the developer to put stub outs to us. Doesn't mean you have to hook us up, doesn't mean you have to bring it onto our property, but to the edge of the property line for sewer, water, power, utility services, so that if we have the opportunity to either get annexed, or if we are forced into annexation, that we have hookups to city services. Right now, all 3 of us are on a community well with individual septics. And so if we're into a situation where we have to be forced into annexation, or we want annexation, we're not having to tear up our entire lane to bring sewer, water, whatnot down in. And I think there's opportunity on our south line of our property where they could run up between two property lines, stub outs for us to be able to future hookups, whether that's us or future owners. But I'm on 3 acres and, you know, neighbors are in a similar situation. So I'm just trying to be forward thinking here. I know that Nampa has been dealing with this over the last 5-8 years where they have all these infill, you have stuff down in Nampa City downtown that is still Canyon County and not part of Nampa City. And they're dealing with this. So trying to be forward thinking on this. So, otherwise, like I said, I commend the developer. They really, I think, listened. And then as a parent, both my kids have been going to charter school for the last, too long. I'm old. So we love it. We have been so blessed to have gotten our kids into a charter school. I know we're in a small percentage there, but I think this is a great move. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Fletch?
Brian Fletcher, 12547 West Del Mar and Boise. Thank you, Chairman and council members. My name is Brian Fletcher with Gym Prep Charter Schools. And I was actually the CFO down here at the Keno School District for 7 years. So I look forward to the opportunity to serve the community of Keno once again. Tonight I'm here to share information about the school that we hope to build in the Gallica project, which will be named aptly Gym Prep CUNA. And a little bit about Gym Prep is, as mentioned before, we are a free Idaho public charter school, so we're funded and operate in the same way that the CUNA School District or any other school district in the state of Idaho does. The name implies private, but we are a public, fully funded public charter school. Our mission is to provide a robust academic experience for students with an emphasis on college prep, and we strive to have majority of our students graduate with 18 college credits or even possibly an associate's degree. While our focus is on the college prep, our interest really is to serve all students regardless of their go-on interests. There are currently 7 gym prep schools in the state of Idaho. We have 3 in Meridian, 1 in Nampa, 1 in Twin Falls, 1 in Pocatello, and the original school is an online school, so you may have heard of Gym Prep Online. Collectively, we're serving over 3,200 students across the state, and we're currently working on opening up our 8th school, which is in Idaho Falls, and we're shooting for the 26-27 school year. A little bit about the CUNA school. When fully built out, Gym Prep CUNA will be about 50,000 square feet and will serve 574 students. It will be a K through 12, it'll be a K through 12 grade count. Today, we're actually serving about 145 students who are in the CUNA area or considered CUNA residents. Most of those are actually up at our Gym Prep Meridian South location, which is on Lake Hazel Avenue. Gym Prep will be open and available to the entire community, so it's really not limited to just the students who reside in Gallica, as the attendance zone will expand beyond the development and cover much, if not all, of the city of CUNA. An estimate that was shared with us is that Gallica will generate approximately 250 potential K through 12 students, which even if 100% did enroll with Gym Prep CUNA, there would still be considerable capacity for interested students in all of CUNA. We'll offer busing and child nutrition in year 1 of operation. And our first year, we typically provide 1, possibly 2 buses of operation and that's scalable and is driven by the number of students and the demand. At full capacity, we'll offer about 4 or 5 routes. And again, that all just is based on and revolves around the demand. In closing, that's just a quick snapshot of Gym Prep as a whole and Gym Prep CUNA specifically. I'll just address a couple of questions I did hear come up from council real quick. Generally, it's, would you like me to just end?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll say thank you very much for the time and the opportunity to present. We're excited to be a part of the CUNA community again, and if you'd like me to address those, I think there was 3 questions. So the first question that was asked was, what was our student count going to be? 574. Theoretically, it could be 600, but 574 is what our charter count is. as far as sports with the local school district, most of our students actually don't participate in sports with the local district. We do generally sign dual enrollment agreements with the local district, and so that gym prep students can go play for with the local school district. They have to comply with all the requirements that the local school district imposes upon those students. But as I mentioned, most of our students are actually not generally oriented towards athletic endeavors, and gym prep does offer extracurricular activities. We're working on a basketball league, an intramural basketball league. Esports is something that's become very popular. We're working on that. And I don't remember the third question. If you want to pitch that or any other questions, I'm happy to.
Did anybody else have any questions for Mr. Fletcher? In my defense, you didn't put an R at the end of your name.
Yes, my penmanship has much to be desired, so I apologize for that.
I had one thing.
Yes, go ahead,
And
Councilmember Bruce.
the charter school are publicly funded to build, correct?
Actually, not to build. So we don't have levy or taxing authority.
Right.
So we actually have to go out into the,
Private.
what I'll call the financial marketplace to raise money.
Okay.
And we facilitate that usually by either selling long-term bonds or getting a bank loan. And we often have the support of organizations like the JCAF, the Joe and Catherine Albertsons Foundation, that helps support us in that endeavor.
Yeah, I remember they were privately built. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
So we won't impact any of the tax base in CUNA. And I just remember the third question, which was, is 4 acres enough? And several of our schools are on 4 acres, and one of them isn't adjacent to a park. So that does provide even additional space for us to use during the course of the day. So 4 acres means that we'll build a double-decker school instead of a single level. But we certainly have no problems operating on a 4-acre plot of land.
Okay.
Yep.
Any further questions for Mr. Fletcher?
Nope.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Appreciate the time.
And that's all I had to sign up. Is there anybody else who wishes to? Danielle? Yeah, either one of those spots is fine. Is there anybody else who wishes to testify, didn't get a chance to sign in? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Danielle Horace, 711 East Porter, representing the students of CUNA School District. I am so glad to be back here. I'm so happy to see all of you. So we did submit a letter in the packet, and I'm here today to let you know our letter of non-support does still stand. The impact of this development of Gallica on CUNA School District does stand to be possibly significant. And I'll explain why I said the word possibly. While we recognize that there may be some mitigation with the building of the charter school you just learned about, it's important to note that the very admission process of the charter school allows for denied student enrollment. And I want that to sit because that's an important message. Unlike charter schools, CUNA School District cannot and does not deny entry. There is no application process, and we serve every single student who walks through our doors. We have to. We must. All students that walk through our doors, they need a classroom, a desk, and a qualified teacher. We do have one charter school in CUNA right now. They serve pre-K through 8, and I pulled that data up just to get an understanding of what CUNA data is around charter school enrollment. And comparing the two, CUNA School District does serve a higher percentage of free and reduced lunch, so socioeconomically disadvantaged kids. We do serve a higher percentage of Hispanic, English language learners, and special ed students. And I'm happy to share that data should that be an interest. So again, to reiterate, charter schools can and do deny admission. They do require parents to apply their child to their schools. So as a student, you would need that parent to do that for you. Traditional public schools deliberately do not deny enrollment. That's what we exist to do, is to serve those kids. So as I'm talking to you today, we have to make plans to have space for any child who seeks to learn from CUNA School District. So let's talk about the enrollment impact. So for Gallica Heights, based on the proposed size of this development, we estimate about 257 students from this development. So looking at where that's zoned, that's at Crimson Point Elementary, and Crimson Point Elementary right today is at 83% capacity. CUNA Middle School is at 95% capacity. And I'm sad to keep saying this, I hoped it changed since I've been here last, but CUNA High School is at 110% capacity. We've got 1,851 high school students walking through our hallways. We only have space for 1,688. And I invite all of you and anyone in the audience to come walk through those high school hallways, and you can tell that impact in those hallways. So, path forward, here's what I'm recommending. I never want to come with an either or, and CUNA School District represents partnership. I did have a positive conversation today with Mr. Eck. I have always found him to be collaborative, thoughtful, forward-thinking, even but the partnership he brought in today exhibits that. He agreed to schedule a meeting between CUNA School District and Corey Barton to explore a partnership that could add 4 classrooms at Crimson Point. If this partnership does become a reality, KSD could reconsider and reverse our letter of non-support. Thank you
Okay.
for your time.
Thank you.
Actually,
Questions for Daniel?
I did. Hey, it's nice to see you
Councilmember
again.
Nice to
Bruce.
see you.
Thank you. So I think, you know, my problem when we talk about the school district is that we have some developments that show up, and we've asked over and over, like, you know, you'll have developers who will work and partner, but we don't see what that partnership looks like, if it actually adds capacity, if it's classrooms or teachers or buses. We just see, hey, we're going to partner with them, we're good to go, but yet we're adding hundreds of homes here. What we've asked several times is give us a capacity plan. What is the CUNA School District's plan to address capacity? Is it mobile units? Is it school buses? Is it teachers? And I know there's a couple board members who have tried to get that, but that's what we need to make the decision so that we could say, hey, this is going to fit their plan, or if it's not, you know, what do those partnerships look like? Because when you show up and you have several hundred homes and it's like we partner with them, but us as council, we don't know what that looks like. And so at least for me, I'd like to have some type of capacity plan. So when you say, hey, we will partner, you could tell us this is going to add mobile units, buses, this is what we're doing. So that's just for me personally. So.
I think having a plan, Mayor, council member, having a plan makes a lot of sense, I can tell you. The plan is we need money.
Yeah.
That's the plan. The plan is we need to build schools, and it's not just on the backs of developers. We need our community members to pass bonds. And one of our message points is we think it's fair for everyone to pay a little bit and not put all of the cost of growth on the families of CUNA.
Yeah,
Which is why we ask for cash from developers.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a problem. I just think when you do have contributions to the school, we just need to see where it goes. So that we know it's actually adding capacity and not on, you know, a baseball field somewhere or, you know, because we don't know, right? And so that's my only concern is, and I know folks don't want to have their kids in mobile classrooms, but at the same time, if they see their kids having to go to mobile classrooms, maybe they pass a bond. Right, maybe they show up and they say, hey, we don't want to do this. We know we need a school. Let's move that ball forward, because that's how Idaho builds schools, you know, so thank you.
Mayor, council member, I agree. I think we all have to sit down at a table and build that plan and decide together what we want and what's right for our kids.
Thank you so much.
Anything further?
Nope.
All right, thank you very much. All right, and again, that's all I had signed up to testify. Is there anybody else who wishes to? Okay, rebuttal.
Elizabeth Kekkeritz, Givens Pursley. I'm here with Tim Eck, who is going to also make some comments. Just some really fast rebuttal first. To Andrew Bills, absolutely, we can work with you to figure out a stub into that property. I think that's a really great idea, and it shows a lot of foresight, because eventually you're gonna have to connect to sewer and water. Columbia Road will be expanding to 3 lanes. That's on the master street map. Shayla Avenue has been planned on the master street map for years and years and years as being the mid-mile collector going through this area. One of the things that is required from city code is that there will be, behind the homes that live in this area, there will be a fence, then there is 20 foot of buffer, then there's the street, then there's 20 feet of more buffer, then there's the subdivision. So there is quite a bit of separation. There's actually way at the bottom a map that shows how far apart some of these homes are from the nearest sort of to the actual house to the edge of the properties. So there is some distance there. And then I believe that Tim Eck just wanted to address a couple things with you.
Yeah, for the, Tim Eck, the applicant, 6357 Buena Vista Lane, Star, Idaho. Thank you for all your time this evening in consideration of this project. We're really excited about the charter school that's going in, and they have emphatically denied the ability to deny enrollment. They also have provided at City Council the percentages of special needs students that are attending their local schools, and they meet or exceed the attendance of special needs children at the district schools. There have priority enrollment levels in their enrollment system. Top priority, the donors. So if Corey and I decide to have a couple more kids, they can go there. That's probably not gonna happen. Children of staff. It makes sense that if a teacher's working there, that they should have a priority to bring their children there. The next level is geographic. It's the city of Kuna. So they don't accept application of students outside of the city of Kuna until there are no more applications of students within the city of Kuna. So this school is focused on our Kuna students, and we have more than twice as much capacity as seats that will generate. So we should be producing a negative impact, a reduction in impact on the district schools, because we will be able to accommodate their overcrowding. If they need capacity, they can come to these schools, and they are free and they are public. Shayla is currently being constructed right now through different subdivisions, and if this is approved with the existing approved plats, Shayla will be constructed as a mid-mile collector that has a reduced speed limit from Columbia all the way to Deer Flat. So one of the things the traffic dispersion graph didn't show is the traffic that would be going down Shayla, because today it doesn't exist. But once it's done, if you want to come to Kuna, you can go down Shayla to Deer Flat, you can go down Shayla to Ardell, to Hubbard, to Wingover, all these different string roads that can get you to Kuna, get you to 10 Mile Road. So you're coming to Kuna, you're not going to go the wrong direction and then go up Columbia. You're going to go you're going to go south on Shayla and take one of multiple arterials, miles road, mid-mile roads up to 10 Mile. Don't know if you had anything to add on traffic.
Just gonna offer ability to ask questions.
And so we do have our traffic engineer. If there's any questions about the traffic impact study, the size of the study, how far out they made a study. Not only intersections are studied, but road segments are studied. And, you know, they've given us all the mitigation we need to do, and we get the pleasure of doing it. And so in addition to all those mitigation fees, 4.2 million, you know, we get to do all these major infrastructure improvements. And I will gladly stand for any questions you may have.
Okay, questions for Tim?
Question. On one of the slides, it's got all the traffic improvement recommendations. Are those upgrades coming from you, or are those suggested upgrades for future ACHD projects?
Great question. We have both. We have, this slide is all the traffic improvements that Tim Eck is being required to do out of his pocket. And then there are on the next slide, which includes a signal all the way up at Black Cat and Victory. Obviously, this corner is going to get signalized fairly early in the process, as well as different improvements going along and through here, because some of these places have not been on ACHD's capital improvement plan. Then you scroll down, and everywhere with a circle on here or a line in color is something that is on ACHD's capital improvement plan, which would include roundabouts here, going up here, some road widening. But those are the intersections that they currently have capital improvements for or road widening projects on. And so all of the dots throughout, there's quite a bit of stuff going on in CUNA, but there's definitely areas that ACHD has not planned any improvements on, and those are the places where Mr. Eck will have to be paying for the improvements himself. And then those, as I mentioned, are paid for primarily by the traffic impact fees as they accrue and collect over time.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. On the phase-out plan, you had the school in the city, or the city park in phase one. So it's expected that when the houses are starting to be built, the school should be, I'm not gonna say ahead of it, but around the same time. In a perfect world, it'll be built around the same time.
That is correct.
So the school has to come forward for conditional use permit,
Right.
and if we're approved, we will get that wheel in motion as quickly as possible to get their conditional use permit through the process. They will also have to do their own traffic impact study and have their own consequential mitigation. And we want to have the school site and the park in phase one so that we can get it platted. And through I don't know if we don't have a development agreement, but through a condition of approval, it will be deeded to the charter school, and then they'll begin the process of construction. So ideally, they could get to very close to having their conditional use permit in place, probably faster than we can get construction drawings completed for phase one and through all the approval process. So they should be able to have their approvals in place by about the time we're able to start, before we can put a shovel in the ground. And then, they'll move forward as fast as their plan allows, but recognizing that once we stick a shovel in the ground, it's probably at least a year before we have a C of O. And, will the school be built and open before we have a C of O? No. But if we have 100 lots, we generate 50 students. And if we have 200 lots and the school gets open, we have capacity for, I don't know how your phase-out building goes, but capacity for significantly more students than we're ever going to produce. And this is a K through 12 school.
So phase one is 65 lots, and we will be pulling the sewer and the water and all the utility extensions down. So it won't be, it just timing-wise, it probably won't be with as the first person moves in, but it can be quite shortly thereafter, within the next year.
Good, because the ultimate goal is mitigation for
Right.
the city, as well as obviously the subdivision, so that's why I asked. And we all know what the numbers look like for especially the secondary schools. So my other question was, and it was brought up earlier, was about the Shayla Columbia issue with, and you just mentioned the traffic study that'll have to be done, but ideas for that, because I can imagine school buses trying to make a left or a right turn onto Columbia being a problem off of Shayla.
Well, they'll have 5 other routes to get to 10 Mile.
Well,
Savino's is being built right now. Ewing Meadows is being built right now. By the time we get this built and the school is online, they should have multiple options of which way to go. And then, of course, they'll have their own traffic impact study that will determine what additional impact they're gonna place on that intersection. And they'll have to do whatever mitigation is required at that intersection.
Well, I live on the south side of the track, so I definitely understand multiple ways to go. I preferred ways to go, but I get your point.
And ACHD got a bond to engineer the crossing.
So technically, you're not part of it.
So, I mean, the goal is to build schools.
All right, further questions?
No, sir.
I do. Thank you, by the way, for explaining everything. The conversation that you're planning on having with the school district, that was correct? Was she speaking correctly about possibly having that conversation in the future?
Yes, we will, you know, Corey has always been willing to talk. And when I talked to him about having a meeting with the school, and he goes, you know, all they gotta do is call me. And so I know Corey's more than willing to sit down and talk about something that is going to fix or help repair the problem. Putting money into fixing soccer fields and deferred maintenance and stuff like that does not get us, you know,
Add capacity.
and any closer to adding capacity. We're gonna add twice as much capacity as we're gonna produce. And if there's something that can be worked out to participate in getting some classrooms built at Crimson, we're glad to talk. I can't speak for Corey,
Right.
but he's always told me that he's more than willing to talk about it.
Thank you.
Good. Anything further?
I just appreciate the consideration you took from all the other meetings
Yes, sir.
and what you have displayed now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have anything further,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, sorry, Mark Bybee, City Attorney, just for the record, because I have to worry about transcription, the two individuals that were taking turn answering those questions, the female voice was Elizabeth Kekritz, the male voice was Timothy Eck. I just think there could be a transcription, or if this gets transcribed, there could be a transcription, or if that's the word, that would be confused a little by that, so I wanted to clear that up.
Very good, thank you.
Glad to have you here, Mark.
All right.
Anyone have any other questions for anyone before?
No, sir.
I don't.
All right. I move we close evidence presentation and move to deliberation.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to close the evidence presentation and proceed to deliberation. Is there any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries.
Do you want to start, sir?
Boy, you get me going, huh?
Yeah.
Councilmember Laraway. you may
Yes,
have the
thank
floor.
you for putting me up here. I just appreciate the reconfiguration that the developer has put into this. I mean, we did not want the R12s, we didn't like the R8s, and the developer came up with something that's palatable. I think my biggest juggle is what we were talking about the school district. They're talking about overcapacity, but yet we have an opportunity, if you will, for a charter school to absorb some of that capacity that is going to help the school district out in the long run. I guess that's about it. The school districts and your comments about what exactly is these benefits going to the school district from developers. It's not enhancing the capacity of the schools. Now we have something before us that is actually fixing some of the problem, and that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Councilmember McPherson.
Well, yeah, again, I'll echo, you know, we beat them up pretty hard last time this was before us about density, neighbor complaints, and they've addressed a lot of that, with the school going in, potentially that's a huge help. Hopefully Tim and Corey and the school district can sit down and really work something out there. I think, also adding the, just on a whim, adding the sewer connections for the neighbors that are not apart,
Not apart.
that shows a lot to just throw that in last minute like that.
You're talking about the sewage and water
Yeah,
hookup?
yeah, it's,
For the
this-
not apart.
the not apart, yeah. This development's come a long ways from last time we saw it, like a long, long ways, so I don't see how we can beat them up much harder. They've done a lot of work to get it to where we like it, so.
Yeah, and, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of these developments that we deal with, the biggest hiccup we have internally, I know 3 of us do, I'm sure 4 does, is how does it impact the schools? And that's my thing with this is absorbing some of that problem, and it makes me feel better about a decision.
Right, schools and traffic, that's,
School's a school. Kids getting educated. Sports are still available through the school district.
Well, and I think that's where we've gotten to, is that a lot of these developments, we focused heavy on the school district because we want to make sure the kids have a seat to put a butt in, right? And the developers are showing up, and they're building their own schools that are privately built, and that's not on the taxpayer. So they're at least trying to add capacity. Obviously, people will continue to go to public schools. We still need to figure out how we fund that, and that's a state level thing. Maybe I can bark at someone next session, but at least they're trying. The traffic does concern me. I mean, I think obviously the amount of traffic that all of these developments are producing that are moving different directions are just gonna be, I mean, it's a nightmare getting out of the city already. I have those concerns, but the problem is ACHD won't come out and build anything until they start with houses. They're behind the curve, right? And I don't know how we fix that.
Well, that's why I was asking about all these little green boxes, who was gonna be responsible for that?
I mean, I think they're way behind, just in general, especially for the amount of money that they collect out of our district and spend it somewhere else. So I'd like to figure that out a little more, that the traffic just in general, because there is a quality of life thing sitting in traffic for so long. I think that does change the way you feel about what you do in life. But, I mean, it is adding school capacity, and the traffic does concern me, so those are my thoughts about it.
Councilmember Biggs.
So it's feels, I don't know, a little mixed feelings. To get this great school, we have to build to get this great school. It would've been nice to address the capacity, but the nature of the business, like you just mentioned with ACHD, is it's more reactionary.
Yep.
So you have to feel the pain a little bit before you can sometimes reap the benefits. But I know after the last time we went through this, for this subdivision, I think they drew it up probably better than I could have imagined, for the things that we mentioned, like the 50 mile per hour, having those lots that were on the road or across from the R1 communities. It's a nice transition. I couldn't have mapped out, even in my own dreams, probably any better than this. Love the idea of the school and the park. Looks like lots of green space. The traffic's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
Well, the traffic is gonna be a problem. I think the traffic's always gonna be a problem, but I
Is a
think
problem.
they're part of it. See, I got that one right. 10 miles is gonna be getting bigger and bigger and bigger because of the freeway exit. Linder's gonna get bigger and bigger because of the overpass. So north and south, traffic eventually will move. And I don't know really what the plan for ACHD on Columbia Road is, but
My hope is that at least slow down, or, get the speed limit down to 35 or something. 50, I can't imagine it's gonna be a realistic can stay that way, at least on those roads that are that close to that many people, especially with the amount of extra trips that's gonna be that's in the study, so.
Well, and I'd like to see ACHD at some point say like, whoa, we're too far out, right? But they're kind of like Meridian, they haven't found a development they don't like.
They have a lot of plans. I'll give that to them.
That's all I have to say. I mean, I think we've seen him several times. He's met all the requirements that we've asked. We've cut the project almost in half, or by a third at least. It was annexed into when was this annexed, Doug? This piece of property?
For the record, Doug Hanson, CUNA Planning and Zoning. I will turn to Troy for that. I believe he mentioned that in his presentation.
Was it 08?
It was like 07 or 08.
It was part of the original ID.
For the record, Troy Buchanan, that's a great question, Councilmember Bruce. Yes, part of this was annexed as part of the local improvement district, which was a fund for the sewer plant. That was annexed in 2006. The remaining balance was in 2007 and 2008.
And-
So at least, since then.
And was that LID development agreement, was it still the same as we've seen before with the LID, giving them the ability to have it zoned how they'd like? I know that we've seen those before. Is that similar? Like with the Yamamoto property, they were part of that LID district is this a similar type?
Most everything that was brought into the LID originally was given entitlement to R6.
Okay.
And that's how that was developed. In some pockets, there's more, some there's less, so.
Okay.
It varies now, and that's when these come to you is changing that up. So,
And that's what I was curious about, so.
yeah.
All right. Councilman Larway?
I'm good.
Good.
So I guess we're all in, I don't see a legal reason to.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve case number 22-07-ZC and 22-15-S, and to follow staff recommendations. And do I need to bring up the sewer hookup and the water
This,
The stubs.
for that
Not
not
a part.
involved?
not a part.
Not a part of it?
Mark Bybee, City Attorney. I appreciate the question. Those things are like, the city can't compel that
Okay.
in its decision-making. That's just gonna have to be by private agreement.
It's on record, so that's all we need, right?
Say that again.
It's on record, so that's all we need.
Well, I mean, yes, I think they could use that if, like the landowners, if the developer didn't follow through and make that offer and try and sort that out, I think they could point that out on the record for sure. But as far as just your decision-making authority, that's not a condition. I believe the city has the authority to compel.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so motion is made and seconded did we have a second? I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Yes, you have
Motion
one.
is made and seconded to approve case number 2207ZC and 2215-S with the staff conditions included in the packet. Did I get that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any further discussion on that motion?
Everyone's same place?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries. That takes us to business item, intergovernment and joint powers agreement with Ada County and Ada County EMS regarding CIPs. I think Mark was gonna take this one since Nathan's not here.
Mark Bybee, City Attorney. So I'll give them a second to clear out if that's okay.
Yeah, well, as soon as the door can move out, we'll. get that in the record.
It'll have a random,
Maybe, is fairly loud. All right, Mark Bybee, City Attorney. So, what these two agreements are, you guys may or may not recall, because it was some time ago that, I forget the individual's name, Leon Letson from Ada County came and presented about the desire of Ada County and Ada County EMS to establish impact fees that are collected within city limits. Now, because even though it's Ada County, they don't have jurisdiction to adopt ordinances that are applicable within the city's boundaries. And so if they want to collect impact fees from city residents and not just from individuals that live in unincorporated Ada County, they need the cities to be willing to adopt ordinances allowing for the collection of their impact fees. What these intergovernmental agreements do is kind of the first step in them being able to potentially establish the impact fees within the city. It does not actually establish the impact fees, but basically it's representing a willingness by the city to go down this path, to consider the capital improvement plan developed by Ada County, and to potentially use the city's ordinance authority to adopt an ordinance that establishes those impact fees in the city. It's kind of similar to the relationship between the city and the fire district, whereby the city adopted an impact fee ordinance and collects impact fees for the Kuna Rural Fire District, and then remits those after collection. And they also, the city did adopt the CIP, Capital Improvement Plan, that was prepared and adopted by the fire district. That's been adopted and become part of your comp plan as well. So those are next steps that would happen, is that CIP work, ordinance adoption, if the city is satisfied after seeing the CIP that it wants to adopt those fees. And so again, first step, but not last step, and there will be other decisions you'll have to make before this would actually be formal, that impact fees would be established within the city, and similar to all impact fees that be collected at the time of development, because they're fees paid for the impact caused by the development. So it's not something that's going to be paid by existing residents unless they decide to develop something new within the city. And just one point, I know this can kind of be confusing. Ada County EMS is technically a different governmental district, and so that's why there's two Ada County. It's odd because the Ada County Board of Commissioners sits as their commissioners, but it is a different government entity, so they have different impact fee authority, and that's why there's two agreements.
Yeah, and these are the ones we talked about before. It provides for the sheriff's department, the coroner's office, and EMS, and all of the things all the services that the county provides that they are unable to collect impact fees on, so.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, obviously, all of those things we talked about, do those fall under the umbrella of police? Because when we talk about impact fees and collecting, we've always said we got fire, police, and parks. And that's all we can collect for, right? That's been our big headache with schools is, so do these fall under police?
They don't fall under police. So the reason you can collect those right now, it's kind of a multi-part question, but the short answer, the city's already adopted ordinances for those categories of impact fees. And periodically, the city has done updates to its capital improvement plan, and then that's sometimes resulted in code updates as well, but at the very least results in a comp plan update when you do a new capital improvement plan. But those, police, fire, parks, you have already adopted ordinances for all of those. These new fees would require a new ordinance because it'd be a new fee category. It wouldn't fall under police. Because the police ones too, those are collected by the city and kept by the city. These ones would be collected and then sent to Ada County. You would just be acting as the collecting party, and that's part of the reason for the contract. It's part of the reason for why you must adopt an ordinance.
Well, and I understand that. I'm just saying that, when we talk about, like, for a school district, we could do this for a school district, right?
Yeah.
Or why couldn't we do this for a school
Okay,
district?
yeah.
If we're doing the same thing, which these are not listed under state code as police, fire, because that's the argument that we always go back and forth with. Why does developers not pay an impact fee to schools? Should they pay an impact fee to schools? And the argument is, well, they're not listed under the state statute that says impact fees are collected for parks, fire, and police. So, and I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just saying if we're getting out of that box of fire, police, or parks, then why couldn't we do that with public schools as well?
I understand your question. So this gives specifically to Idaho Code 678204, capital A.
Okay.
And so the way impact fees work is cities and counties have the ability to adopt impact fee ordinances for their own within their own limits, right? And so if we want to collect as a city police impact fees, we adopt an ordinance, we adopt our own CIP, we put in our comp plan, we start collecting them. Counties can do similar for the unincorporated portion of the county, but not within city limits. Now, it's not about specific fee categories, but it's about the entity collecting. What Idaho Code 678204A says is for government entities that can't adopt their own ordinances. So that's every local government entity besides a city or a county. They have to enter an intergovernmental agreement with a city or a county to collect the fees.
Right.
And it lists specific entities in that statute that can enter those agreements. The specific entities, highway districts, fire districts, ambulance districts, water districts, sewer districts, recreational water and sewer districts, or irrigation districts. That's the list. School districts are not in it.
And
The other caveat, because it also says governmental entities defined in section 678203 sub 14, which is cities and counties are government entities that are jointly affected by development are authorized to enter intergovernmental agreements with each other. So not only can they enter it with those other districts, but cities and counties can also enter agreements together with each other to collect within their respective limits.
Well, and I was just curious of where they fell under that, so.
Yep, it's because cities and counties can contract with each other, and that's what this one is.
And the coroner falls under what jurisdiction?
Coroner is I'm pretty sure a department of Ada County. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's a different elected office, but it's a department of Ada County.
Awesome. Thank you, good sir. I'm getting my money's worth from you tonight.
Got to get my work in sometimes, I guess. I think I got more stuff on the agenda still too. Good grief.
So I did, have
Okay.
anything else? No. I move we approve, the intergovernmental agency and joint powers agreement with Ada County R71-2025 and Ada County EMS R72-2025 as written.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval. Is there any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Contingency request to reallocate funds from FY '25 to FY '26 to continue construction for restrooms and parking lot. Morgan Webb.
For the record, Morgan Webb, City of Cuna, Parks and Recreation, Fleet and Facilities Department, 371 West Short Line Street. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I have a contingency request to reauthorize $273,000 in fiscal year 2026 to continue and finish construction of the restrooms and parking lot lighting at Fitzroy Park, nestled in the Patagonia subdivision. These funds are authorized in our current fiscal year 2025, but the end of budget is approaching quickly and we are unable to complete the project within the remaining time frame. Our intent was to complete this project by the end of current budget, but due to construction drawings taking longer than expected, we are unable to achieve that goal. We were able to complete the pickleball and basketball courts and get started on the restrooms and parking lot lighting after receiving the approved construction drawings. With the approval of reauthorizing these funds, we will be able to continue construction and focus on quality work. We look forward to the completion of this project and the improvements this will provide to the Fitzroy Park and the Cuna community. I will stand for any questions you may have.
Okay, questions for Morgan?
No.
Basically didn't get it spent in time, so gotta move it to next year.
I'm good.
You good? Oh man, I hate contingency funds. I even hate voting for them. All right.
Just do it. It'll feel good.
It doesn't feel good. See, I move we approve the relocation of $273,000 from FY '25 to FY '26 to continue the restrooms and parking lot lighting for Fitzroy Park.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval. Is there any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
See, it felt good, didn't it?
I'm sick at my stomach.
Oh, come on.
Thank you, Morgan.
All right, that takes us to item C, Kuna wastewater treatment plant civil case. Mark Bybee.
All right, Mark Bybee, City Attorney. So I know we've discussed this from time to time, but this has to deal with the IDQ lawsuit that was filed against the city for issues with wastewater treatment. I can't remember exactly which facility. Adam could fill in on that better, but some issues that had occurred that we received a notice of an intent to sue by a private party, and instead through mechanisms available in law, we were able to instead essentially get sued by IDEQ to prevent that private suit. And we immediately entered settlement into discussions and negotiations with IDEQ. Adam and I met at different times with IDEQ. I think he's continued to have follow-up with them to essentially establish milestones that we're going to have to comply with as a city to come into compliance, address the issues that led to the suit. And there's also a penalty provision, and so in this consent judgment, this is essentially an agreement, a settlement agreement between the city and IDEQ. The more significant parts are, there's a lot of background and lead up, but on page 4 out of 10 of the draft consent judgment, which would be page 450 of your packet, there's a compliance requirements, and it talks about things the city's going to have to do, and it says continue to comply with all terms and conditions found in the permit, meaning the current, is it an NPDES permit, Adam? Not if I got that right. And discharge permit, correct? And except as otherwise expressly provided in the attached agreement, schedule, and the consent judgment, achieve compliance with effluent limitations and permit conditions by completing the tasks by the dates contained in the agreement schedule attached as Exhibit A and incorporated by reference. Adam knows a lot about Exhibit A because he played a major role in negotiating the time frames in there and the time period for the city coming into compliance. So if you have questions on that, Adam, sorry, I'm going to throw you under the bus for that, but I think you're probably ready for it. And then provide written verification of the departments, the tasks and upgrades listed in the agreement schedule are completed and the wastewater treatment plant is achieving effluent limits and for the violations listed in the complaint filed in this case. As for the penalties, the civil penalty the city did accrue is $113,600. However, because of our cooperation in this process, that's been reduced to $56,800. And of that amount, the city is being asked only and required to pay $11,360 within 15 days of the judgment being entered. The other $45,440 would be held in abeyance and basically only imposed if we do not comply with the things in Exhibit A and get into compliance as we've agreed to do. So there is a penalty, fortunately, through this process and engaging with IDEQ as opposed to going the private party lawsuit route, which was definitely coming. They were ready to file a complaint before we got IDEQ to intervene. We've avoided significant penalties that could have been pursued and are getting into compliance and working to stay in compliance. So hopefully that answers what this is about, but what we need from the council today is a vote to authorize the mayor to execute this agreement on behalf, or this consent judgment on behalf of the city so that it can then be entered by the court. And so if there's a motion to be made, it's a motion authorizing the mayor to execute this.
All right.
Question.
Any questions? Ava?
Yes, Councilmember.
I just want to say thank you to Mark and to Adam. I know, Adam, this started a little bit before your time, but thank you for carrying the water from your predecessor. So considering what we had talked about before, I do appreciate where we've got it down to, and that we left the folks from Oregon or Washington out of the mix. So thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Laraway.
My question with the money that we're talking about, is that coming out of the budget? Are you gonna need a supplemental contingency to pay it, or is that coming out of the city's pocket,
General fund, or is it?
general fund?
Jared Empey.
Jared Empey, City Treasurer. So, Councilman Laraway, so as a part of our fiscal '24 audit, you'll notice that we had already accrued a liability. In other words, we made an estimate for what our liability would be. And so, there actually won't be any effect on the fiscal '25 budget on account of already essentially taking that expense back in fiscal '24.
And Adam, I agree with him.
As Jared always does, he foresaw and he made it happen. So we don't have to do any contingency requests.
And thank you, Mark, for all this that you
Yeah,
do.
thank you.
And this has been an interesting process. I think some of our non-compliance came from the system and the way it grew and not keeping up with communicating with the IDEQ on what we need to do to keep everything operating to the standards that they want to see. Some of the things that they wanted us to do are not actually even possible to do. So Adam worked and Travis worked their way through with IDEQ, got those rules and regulations figured out, and I think everybody's going to be way better off because of it, and we don't plan on getting behind again. So things are going really smooth and really well right now. And most of those were years old, so nothing new that's come up.
Yeah, I think it was 21 and 22.
Yeah.
It was when it was originating, so. I move, anyone have anything else? I move we authorize the mayor to execute the consent judgment.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right, that takes us to the second reading of ordinance 2025-31 Idaho Power Franchise Agreement. An ordinance in accordance with the Idaho Code 50-328 and 50-329 and 50-329A, granting a franchise to Idaho Power Company, a corporation, and to its successors, and assigns the construct, maintain, and operate in and upon the present and future streets and highways and other public places within the corporate limits of the city of Kuna, Idaho, electric utility property and facilities for supplying electricity and electric service to the city, the inhabitants thereof, and others for a term of 10 years, including the non-exclusive right to physically locate and maintain telephone, cable, fiber optics, or other communication facilities, setting forth an agreement not to compete, reserving power of eminent domain, providing for the payment of franchise fees, and specifying other limitations, terms, and conditions governing the exercise of said franchise. And that will come back for a third reading. And that is all we had on the agenda tonight. We don't need an executive session. So mayor and council announcements. Councilmember Biggs.
Mr. Mayor, I had the privilege of sitting down with Chief Ratusco this week and got to go and look at the Manning and plan for the future and that sort of thing. And something really, I was thinking a lot about this weekend, looking in the news of what happened last week with what happened in Orem, Utah, a place where I used to live, and also in Charlotte, North Carolina. To a further extent, we've had issues in Gooding and Weiser, or no, Payette. It's made me really think hard about our police force and the fact that we are not at the 1 per 1,000 number that we would like to get to. And I know that there's a plan to get there eventually. And I know that the fiscal year 27, we're gonna be asking for some more folks, but I think, and this is to my fellow council members, and I know we can't do anything here, it's not a business item, but I would like to see that timeline pushed up, because nothing's more important than the safety of our families and our community. And I think, we get there with more police, patrolling. And, from what I understand, it costs roughly about $150,000 per, FTE, police, patrol. And I think with our general fund the way it is, that perhaps we might look at adding a couple of FTE as an extraneous budget request for
For this
FY26.
cycle.
Yes, sir.
Could I add something to your statement?
Yes, sir.
I think also, and Chief might not want to hear this, but I think you're getting bottom heavy. And I think what I'm trying to say is, when is it possible for a captain out here and a lieutenant so you can focus on stuff? Because you got a lot of sergeants. And you're the next step. And to me, that creates a little bit of a leadership issue.
Mayor, council members, for the record, Mike Fertusco, Chief of Police, City of Cuna, 793 West 4th Street. Councilman Laraway, that's a great question. I believe I've sent out the staffing plan. I did have that listed probably about 2031 to where my position would go to that captain level, and we bring on a lieutenant to be in charge of all of patrol and detectives. If I know it's changed since you were a chief out here and chief out in Star, but we've taken over all of the detective positions in our contract cities. So all 3 contract cities are now supervised directly by a sergeant inside the city. So sergeants, we have, we got our 6th detective this year, so the sergeant detective is that person that supervises the detectives and is also, when I'm gone, the acting chief. So you are correct. We have talked about this. We've talked to the sheriff about this. There probably needs to be that step. Eagle and Cuna are pretty neck and neck. That should happen. I agree. I never want to be the person that says, hey, I need a promotion. That's not what I'm about. It is important for me to have those sergeants in place, and I appreciate the city voting yes on the sergeants this year. That is going to give us some good supervision throughout a 24-hour period on each side of the week for the city now, which mitigates risk in itself, as you know. People do need supervisors, and we have a lot of younger deputies that need that supervision. But we're probably there now. The thing is I do never want to be the person that bleeds the city. So I had an 8-year plan in place. The city has been great about adding those bodies, and I can tell you right now, out of all the contracts, and I am biased towards Cuna, but this city is ran, in my opinion, and I could probably back that up, the best when it comes to finances, when it comes to staffing, the law enforcement, all of it. The city has done really well. I never want to take that contingency money and bleed it dry. I think, in my opinion, it's very important when you have an emergency come up. I like to have money in savings. I understand why the city does also. But if you ask me, could I use 2 more bodies right now? I absolutely could use 2 more patrol bodies right now, and then shift around staffing and supervision for the future. But we're doing great, way better than we were 4 or 5 years ago, I can tell you that. It's very impressive what the city's done and the support they've shown. But yes, we do need higher supervision levels.
I have a question. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said thank you.
I have a question too. When you have these officers, how much do they overlap with SROs? Because I know the school also there was a survey that went out which helped them have a grant that offset some of their other costs so that they could afford SROs. How often do our officers overlap those so that we have someone at schools, or how do we, if we brought on new officers, would they be able to overlap some of that as well? I guess my question is, if we brought on new officers, would they also be able to help with some of the SRO duties? Or would you be completely full with just two?
Councilman Bruce, great question, and in all honesty, there is no way that they could be supplementing the school resource officers. We're busy enough out in the field. As of right now, if you look at one side of the week, I have 2 daytime patrol deputies, then I have another one that comes on at 11, and then at 5, those two, or then at 3:15, another deputy comes on. By that time, the 2 daytime deputies are gone. And then I have another staggered shift that comes on around 5 o'clock. And then I have 2 graveyard shifts come on when the 11 o'clock shift's going home. So all my shifts are staggered right now. So on any given day, and we're talking about right now, I have 3 people out on FMLA. I have guys moving from the swing shifts down to the day shift to help cover, and they are helping and doing what they can.
Right.
I showed Councilman Biggs our budget, and out of the 3 contract cities, you saw the overtime.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Who was sitting the best?
yeah, they're not charging overtime, so these guys covering.
Our guys are moving their shifts so they're not accruing overtime. I couldn't cover the SROs.
And so you said 2?
It was, yeah, I'm just throwing some of that, anything,
Okay.
whatever we would
I
support.
I'd
do.
like to have the discussion more.
I
think
will
that's where we're
say,
at.
though, adding to what Chief said, we do supply a sergeant that oversees the SROs. So in that support capacity, we
Okay.
are already doing that.
Helping that, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Mayor Steer.
And I was just trying to wrap my mind around, what he was saying with 2 and where that actually puts us with, I didn't know where he was going with bottom heavy, so I kind of stayed away from that.
Councilman Bruce, just to reiterate
part
what,
of it.
just to reiterate what the mayor was saying, I think it was 3 years ago, we brought the sergeant on that does supervise the 4 school resource officers to help the school district. So we are helping the school district by not asking them to provide that supervisor. That sergeant also supervises code enforcement and supervises the other 6 detectives. That current sergeant right now has 6, 11, 12 people he's supervising, which, as Councilman Laraway knows, and as probably the Councilman McPherson and Mayor Steer in emergency services,
That's a lot.
that's a lot of bodies to supervise.
On a different note, how is Officer Jones doing in his recovery?
Councilman McPherson, thank you for that question. Deputy Jones calls me probably every other day, and he wants to come back. He is telling the doctor he wants to come back. I keep telling him, you've got to be 100% because you come back and push it, you're going to end up going out again. It's amazing. For lack of better terms, thank God that he ended up where he did, but he is pushing to come back. He's supposed to teach a motor school next week, and he's doing everything he can to get the doctor to say, yeah.
We do not have his new tricycle outfitted, though.
There's a Honda 90, the yellow one by the fruit stand for $850.
All right. Okay? Anything further?
No, sir.
All right, well
well,
then with that,
I just want to
Yes.
address, obviously last week with the shooting in Utah, just maybe keep those folks in your prayers, and remember that we have dialogue and that the First Amendment protects even speech you don't like, but we don't want to get down that path of violence, so.
yeah,
That's
that
it.
was a very unfortunate incident. It was terrible. It's just not the kind of thing we should have happening in our society, so. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.